Tom, we have one of our favorite people in the universe with us today.
We're joined by a very fine actor and comedian. He is Billy Gardell, but he only brought half of himself. You left Fat Billy somewhere else.
He had to go away. He's not coming back, and we don't know anything about it.
All right, we won't ask any questions.
Billy Gardell is a very fine stand-up comedian. We first met you on the stand-up circuit many years ago. I think Tim Wilson, I think, brought you in.
He begged you guys to have me on the air and promised that I would behave and be polite, be a gentleman. And yeah, back in the I want to say, I was trying to think of when I met you guys. I want to say it was middle 90s.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe even a little before that. So thank you for having me back. It's great to see you guys, man. It's nice to meet Pat Godwin. We've done every gig.
Yeah.
A week or two apart. That's one of those names.
In fact, we did a famous strip
last
club.
Week that
strip club gig.
Exactly.
You did a strip club gig?
Yeah.
Palomino, I would imagine, is what you're referring to.
In Atlanta, they tried to have comedians with strippers, and it didn't work. We were paid pretty well. But
yeah, that was it.
Were the girls stripping while you were doing stand-up?
No, they'd give us like a 10-minute spot.
It was a 6 o'clock, a 9 o'clock, and a midnight, right?
And it seemed like it went on forever.
Oh, dear God. And I was really heavy back then, too, so I remember, man, that happy hour crowd was the tough one. Because it's like 6 o'clock, the lights go up, the girls leave, and then I go waddling towards the stage like, show us your tits. I'm all right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody? How we doing? Boy, we have the same scar, Pat. That's like the two guys talking about the scars in the boat in Jaws. Look at this. Right here. Atlanta, the Palomino took it out of me, shark's eyes, black at night.
They didn't have any customers. It was just you performed for the strippers.
Yeah.
And after a while, you're there for 2 weeks.
I imagine the idea, the germ of that probably came from the 50s.
Yeah, burlesque.
When Lenny Bruce, famously, I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Lenny, where Dustin Hoffman portrays Lenny Bruce, that's fairly accurate.
Yeah. That's what they were trying to bring that back, and this guy had a whim to do that. And I think me and Pat and maybe 3 or 4 other guys survived it before they pulled the plug.
And they stopped it, We had like one little tiny green room in the back where I would hide because it was just crazy.
Did you play guitar back then?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I did my little guitar action.
I wished I played guitar back then.
What were you doing?
I would have put cymbals on my knees and clanked them together. I mean, it was horrifying.
Our guest is Billy Gardell. Before he got famous, let me ask you this: was the content of your comedy when you were playing in this strip club, was it a clean show?
No.
Your show now is relatively...
I swear a little bit, but I'm not going to say nothing that's going to run you out the door.
But in those days
never
you
have.
did?
That's never really been my thing. No, I don't think so. I was still just trying to be funny. I was probably talking about getting drunk a lot because that was what was going on back then. So, that fit that particular group.
Oh, God. That's what I went with.
Let me ask you this. So you're playing this strip club. Did you meet the ladies?
Oh, God,
yeah.
I mean,
they were nude. It was
like
okay.
nude.
But you would sit at the bar waiting for your spot. I don't know how it worked but I had to drink to get through it. I'm like, what have I done with my life, right? But then they would sit and then get up and go work and sit and get up and go, but they would like drop some of their story on you, so you would just get this round robin of, anyway, my boyfriend said he doesn't really care for me and he's going to Louisiana and I got to work. And the other one will come in, I think I'm just going to do this long enough until I can get a car and I'm going to work. You just sit there like the dude in the Big Lebowski. All right, man. Okay. All right.
That was Tina.
This is an awkward question.
Sure.
You were a man of a certain size.
Oh, you could see me from the space shuttle. Yeah. When I had that blue uniform on, I looked like another body of water.
Lake Michigan.
Wow. Here he comes.
This is awkward. Was there something in your contract saying, hey, don't lose weight? We need you to be big? Or if you had said, hey, look, I'm going to drop 100 pounds, would they have written it into the script? I think Chuck would have done that. Because on the second show I did, Bob Hart's Abishola, that's when that's when I had to make a change. Because it was like... I got type 2 diabetes, and then I had some cholesterol problems and some triglyceride. But, you can't, once the numbers start climbing, you can't play denial anymore, or you might lose a foot. So I had to really come to grips with, I got to get healthy no matter what
the thing is. And I went in and talked to Chuck, which was over the.
This is Chuck Lorre,
Chuck Lorre,
head of the
dropping names all over the floor here. But I said, look, man, I got to make a real health change. It was over the hiatus between season 2 and season 3 of Bob Hart's, and he's like, look, man, he goes, I just want you here. Just go get healthy. And he goes, and we'll color it into the script. Like, hey, Bob, did you go to the gym today? Hey, Bob, you eating salad? And that actually kind of reflected the show, because at the beginning of that show, I play a guy who had a heart attack and then wakes up and falls in love with his nurse. And she's from Nigeria, and it's about blended families, and love is love. But underneath that, it's kind of his journey to getting healthy. So it kind of reflected and worked perfectly. But I think had I been in trouble in Mike and Molly, I think Chuck would have been supportive either way. He was been really.
And Melissa McCarthy's also dropped some.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melissa actually was ahead of me, man. But she was just always being strict and really got focused in on exercise. I had bariatric surgery, and I always say that I'm very open about that because, the wonderful cesspool that the internet, don't you miss Earth One? I do. I feel like I bumped up against a multiverse and I'm not supposed to be here. But I did bariatric surgery, and I always say that because there was a group on the internet after I lost my weight all over Facebook doing fake AI commercials saying I ate these magic gummy bears to lose weight.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I got to defend that and just say, because my lawyer said, look, you could chase them. You'd run out of money before you'd catch them because they bounce off of everything. You can't catch anybody on the internet. So I just tell people openly what I did, because there's always somebody that will come up there that saw those commercials online and go, did those gummy bears work? I'm like, dude, gummy bears is what got me in trouble in the first place. Let's get back to cognitive thinking.
And Tom, we are joined this morning by, I think most people would say, two of the biggest jerks out of Hollywood. I don't understand why.
Insufferable to be around.
Wow. Really, really difficult.
Yeah, we're part of a trio. The jerks.
The jerk trio, ladies and gentlemen.
Billy Gardell, comedian and actor, has joined us in the studio. We've been talking to Billy. And then an old friend of the show, he is actor. I almost said comedian. You're a very funny guy. He's actor Drew Powell. And Drew is currently featured in a show that I'm actually watching called The Pitt, which is not like The Pit and the Pendulum. It takes place in an emergency room.
No, it isn't.
Well, no, I didn't. That's the problem with the titles of some of this stuff. Unless you know what it's about, you don't know. I mean, the show ER, I get it. It's about an emergency room. The Pit, what is it? Some kink fest? In any event, it's a great show.
Pittsburgh ER.
It's a great show, and it takes place. Each episode of the show is 1 hour of real time.
That's right.
In an emergency room in Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And it's incredible. Now, I'm like 4 or 5 episodes in. All I've seen is you are in the waiting room bitching at everybody. And I have been told it gets worse.
Yes, well, it is an incredible show. It was awesome to be a part of. Noah Wiley is the star. You might remember him from ER. We were actually on another show, on a show called Leverage in New Orleans.
Great show.
And we had a lot of fun with that. He was acting in that in the morning and then writing for The Pit in the afternoon. And so that guy was doing double duty, and he was telling me about it, and he's like, I said, ooh, man, this sounds pretty good. And he said John Wells, who did ER and The West Wing and Shameless, and, Scott Gemmell, who did the original ER. I'm like, this sounds like this is going to be really good. And I said, you better get me in there.
There you go.
And I still had to audition, believe me.
Now, what is it like? We have 2 actors in here, and you guys have never met, but you immediately start comparing, and all of a sudden you know certain guys. How do I get on that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I loved what you said the last bit about how you and Lance would see each other.
Every audition.
Exactly. I have the same thing. For me, it was Eric Stone Street who ended up doing.
He's a great.
You find your crew for whatever.
And it's your type, right?
Yeah,
so
there's just a room full of guys like you.
Exactly. Me and Eric were you guys like 5 years down the road.
That's great.
But now in today's world, we were talking not too long ago. You audition you're in your kitchen with a video camera, so you don't have that thing of seeing the same guy that looks kind of like you that can do the same thing.
And I don't care for it. Do you like the phone audition? Because I believe you bring your energy into the room, and I used to like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's true. You've been great here today, but every time we have you on the phone, it's just miserable.
It just stinks, right?
Really
stinks. When you do an audition on the phone, it's right up there with, I'm eating olives, everybody. Hey, everybody, I'm eating olives. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, no, it's I did one yesterday in my parents' living room with my wife on the FaceTime.
My wife's
Right?
See,
You
that
know
was,
it?
that was my next,
to read this.
That was my next question. So if your wife's doing it, all of a sudden, does she become a director and go, wait, oh, that was a terrible
They're
thing?
born directors.
Absolutely.
Yes, we
Directs my life.
And producers.
Let's try that again.
We need some more hair and
Little
makeup
more
over here.
feeling, please.
No, I've read sides. That's right. I know the terms. I was reading something for comedian Greg Warren. He was auditioning
Love
for something.
Greg.
And he started yelling at me because I was really acting. He goes, hey, you're not auditioning for this, right?
You know what's funny, dude? Greg Warren was the original Molly.
Oh.
And I'll tell you how. I got the audition for Mike and Molly, and I was working on my audition, and I was in St. Louis, and I was working the Funny Bone there, and Greg was in town, and I go, hey, man, can you come over and just read these sides with me? And Greg, man, he treated it like wrestling practice. Like, I'll be there at 1 o'clock. We're going to go over these sides. Like, I'm surprised he didn't come with a whistle. But he really, he helped me, man. We ran that thing till I knew it airtight, and I was so grateful because I was so prepared when I went out there. And then I guess about 2 years into Mike and Molly, they had me guest host the Late Show for a week for Craig Ferguson, and I got to pick a few guests, and Greg was my first guest because I wanted him to come on, and I wanted to say thank you.
And also, you knew he wouldn't bring a date, so there'd be more food. I can't be nice. Come on. And Billy is a distinguished actor of a bunch of different shows. We've been talking about his career as doing, among other things, commercials.
Tom, Billy played a role, and Tom Hanks also played the same character, and I submit Billy's version is better.
Yeah. Let's go.
That's really kind. I actually got a little bit of that online that people said they liked it
Which
better.
one was this?
I played Colonel Tom Parker in a short-lived series called Sun Records.
It was a really cool series.
It was great. It was directed by Roland Joffe, and it was about the $1 Million Quartet, Perkins and Cash and Elvis and Jerry Lee. And it was I think it's some of the best acting I did. I think about 8 people saw it because it was on CMT, and then they got the price tag and said, we should probably go back to the shows where people catch fish with their arms.
Did you?
And that was the end of that. But it was a joy to play that.
Billy,
you were wonderful.
Thank you,
Billy,
brother.
did you
That's
do
awesome,
the crazy Tom Hanks accent for the?
No, I didn't play him like that at all. My dad was a huge Elvis fan, and I'm actually in the Elvis Museum now across the street, the car museum. There's a poster of me as Colonel Parker.
All right.
My dad, like when I got successful, we took my wife's parents and my parents, we gave everybody their bucket list dream wish. Like, where do you want to go? Anywhere you want to go. So, like, her mom wanted to go to Hawaii, and my mom wanted to go to New York during the Macy's parade. And when we got to my dad, he's like, I want to go to Graceland.
Nice.
I'm like, Dad, I said anywhere. I said but my dad was the only guy, he loved Elvis so much. My dad was the only guy I ever knew that hated the Beatles. Because, and I quote, those hippies knocked Elvis off the throne. All right. Wow. All right. Okay. All right. So, but I got to play him. But when I talked to they gave us a lot of access. Like sometimes you get a role and people will go, okay, talk to this guy. He was there.
Yep.
So we got to talk to some of the Memphis Mafia, and we got to talk to the CEO of Graceland. And he said, look, when you play Colonel Parker, he goes, just remember, he did a lot of awful things, but he was so likable. It's the only way he got away with it. So if you just play him dark, nobody's going to believe he could con you. He was a con man, so you got to play him with a twinkle in your eye. So ironically, here's a Malcolm in the Middle reference. The 2 people that I based him on or mixed up the soup with was Foghorn Leghorn and Walter White.
Oh,
I figured if I put those 2
That's
together,
awesome.
that's a good cocktail for this guy. And it made him likable and devious. So it was really
great.
cool.
One cool thing about the show The Pit, there's no music,
yeah.
which is
That's right.
interesting because they allow the actual action to dictate how you're supposed to feel.
Oh, is that right? Zero score?
very
And
There's some sometimes there's a little something underneath.
And the realism
dramatic stuff.
of the actual surgery, the stuff that takes place is phenomenal.
Yeah,
work really
I
hard.
read that the scenes with medical stuff there's a doctor right there.
Many doctors and nurses.
They say this wouldn't happen. Do that again. He wouldn't do that.
That's
She'd
right.
do that.
Absolutely. Dr. Joe Sachs is one of the writers, and he was on ER. And it's. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I was, screaming obscenities, but But these poor actors, like all this stuff, and then they have to do it and they have to make it look seamless. There was so much rehearsal for that.
Well, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Did it at any because your character, you come in and you have chest pains and you're waiting forever.
Yep.
From what I understand, in an emergency room, somebody comes in with chest pains. That's the first person to go back.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Did any doctor say
Yeah.
Well, when you watch the show, you'll see
that all comes out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And wait till you see
Watch the freaking show, Josh.
what do you see? Season 2, titled "Drew Gets a Colonoscopy Against His Will."
I would watch, but I don't own a television.
He's strictly a book man.
Intellectual.
How do they shoot those realistic surgery scenes?
Well, I don't know. I was never in there, but they practice all of it and
Like
the
of a
choreographic-
mannequin or
yeah, on a mannequin.
on a mannequin thing?
Yeah.
How good it is.
That or they cut some lady's leg off.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I saw that episode.
And by the way, there's a scene where a woman's giving birth, and I saw more in that than I saw in my own child's birth. I was like, that's what it looks like?
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you go in the makeup bus and there's like, oh, there's a penis and there's
You mean
They show catheters. The
disattached?
yeah,
Disattached,
yeah.
yes.
This is not like a P. Diddy movie.
No.
This is so exciting talking about.
It's very interesting. I love.
I did hear a really nice thing. Noah Wiley, who's one of the writers, and he's the star of the show, and he's an incredibly bright guy. But he was saying, I guess he was on ER for 15 years or something, and he was saying that a number of doctors, real doctors, have come up to him and said, "Hey, listen, the reason I got into this is because I watched you on TV."
Yeah.
And I thought this is for me. So even though they're not really healing people on the set, they really are adding to the culture that will produce great doctors down the road.
You're exactly right. And then what happened is in COVID, that all went out the window because people saw these poor people on the front lines just getting blasted. Yeah. And so, there was a sense of like, that's why they wanted to do this show as a post-COVID thing. And that's a storyline, to try to bring more light to these incredible people that are saving lives every day. That's the
heroes.
thing. They see people on their worst day every single day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever do ER?
No, but I have a buddy who's an EMT in Florida, and man, he said, it's unbelievable. Every time you show up to help someone, they're just screaming at you.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You're there to help, and they're yelling at you.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, today's world's different. I was talking to a friend of mine. You know that game Operation when you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ever play doctor when you were a kid? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no,
I think we all
Yes,
did,
in today's world, when kids play doctor, they just stand there filling out insurance for them.
And then get denied.
Yeah,
Not a lot of-
You're going to have to file this again, sir, 3 times. I'm sorry. We've been taught to make you die.
Billy, you've got such a the ability to make your voice so funny, which I guess is great when you're a comedian. Have you ever been asked to do just like voiceovers for radio?
Man, I did a couple for street cred with my kid. I didn't really ever go into that world, but during Mike and Molly, my son was, let's see, he would have been 7 through probably 13, and his all-time favorite was Scooby-Doo. Like me and him saw every Scooby-Doo that was ever made ever.
Yep.
And so I called my agent and said, look, I need some credit with my kid because he doesn't care about the sitcom.
No.
So I did. I got to be on Scooby-Doo. I was the bad prison warden who was trying to keep the place shut down and haunted because I was going to sell it for a hotel or something. And I actually got to bring him, and he heard me say, and I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
That's like a bucket list line
It
for.
really was. And then I did. I was the only voice to ever speak as a human in the Ice Age series. I did the Ice Age Christmas. I played Santa Claus, the original Santa. And
That's what Santa sounds like.
I did.
I had no idea.
I got to sing. I am coming to town. I'm singing in third person. And then the other one I did was Phineas and Ferb, which is another one that he loved when he was growing up. But I just did that to impress him.
That's the greatest stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Did you ever do anything like that?
Yeah, I've done it. Like the voiceover thing is like getting in the mafia.
It's a hard click. I was just going to say that. It's a hard click to get into, man. It really is.
I've done commercials. I've done video games, which are weird when they strap the camera to your face while you're talking. And
I've never done one of those.
yeah, that's pretty wild. I was a voice for the Colts for a while. I could do their hype videos. That's fun as a big fan, So I enjoy it. I hate that because people are like, you should listen to your voice. You should do voice. I'm like, I'm trying.
I know. The problem is,
give me a job.
You sound just like John Cena, and he's getting them.
I know, it's true.
That is the problem.
No joke. He was doing that almond commercial.
I thought that was you for a while.
They brought me in to do a voice match, and I didn't get it.
Yeah. What? Because I thought that was you. The first time I saw those pistachio things with the elephant, I was like, Drew Powell's doing those.
John needed more money.
Here, I got one.
for him.
I got
Good
one
for him.
for you that I didn't get. That's great. I did the Aspen Comedy Festival in 1998. So then I come home from the festival, and there's the breakdowns for the pilot season, and one of them says Billy Gardell type.
Oh.
I go in, and I didn't get it. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, what?
That's insane.
It's in the breakdown. Billy Gardell type, and didn't get it. Apparently, I wasn't good enough to play myself back then.
The first time I went to Vegas, the Righteous Brothers were playing at the hotel down the street, and I asked the concierge guy. He goes, "No, they're terrible now. They go see the fake Righteous Brothers. They're in that. They got a fake Sinatra. They got a fake Elvis.
They're called the Self-Righteous Brothers.
Well, Billy, I know you got to leave.
Unfortunately, I do.
We love Billy, boy.
Thank you guys for having me, for always having me over all the years. And by the way, if nobody says it to you, thank you for all you've done for so many comics.
Awesome.
You're
so many
all very
comedians, man. You have really put a lot of people on the map.
If we could only jack up Drew's career.
Hey, you and me,
He's
we're working
rolling.
together.
Yeah, I'm gonna rub his shoulder. This guy's got the smoke right now.
Let's go.
He's got
me
the
and you,
smoke.
kid. We're going to have a good time on whatever that